Let's talk about Ludicon Day 1. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we're going to talk all about the first day of Ludicon. It's been a long day. It is almost 11 o'clock now. We've been playing games for 12 hours, just about. And I have a guest with me today. Introduce yourself, Chris.
My name's Chris Munro. I'm a local from Montreal, a game designer. It's been a hobby of mine for more than a decade, but I've been very avidly designing many new creations in the last year or so, sort of pouring myself full into it and going to lots of game conventions, meeting fine folks like this Brian McDonald right here.
And you've got a whole pile of prototypes, one on top of the table today and a whole bunch under the table. Let's talk about the one that we played, because it's called
The Nut Stash.
The Nut Stash. I was going to say Nut Hatch.
Okay.
I was close, but not quite. The Nut Stash.
So Nut Stash is basically a squirrel and chipmunk based game. We have our little critters in the forest that have unfortunately been relocated to a new forest because of a local housing project. And the game has a three-dimensional sort of eye candy appeal to it, because I've built a giant oak tree with magnetized acorns that have a hidden value inside them for victory point value that magnetically attach to the oak tree. So that's sort of the centerpiece of the game. But the interesting part of the game is that you're moving along this board and collecting things, and as you're bringing them home, the game board will actually shrink, and it becomes a little bit easier to maybe get back home. Energy management system, you can't run out of energy before the round is over, otherwise too bad. A little bit of danger out there because there's a couple of roads to cross, and I tried to create a bit of that fun flavor of, the squirrel crossing the road. Do I get caught in the headlights? Do I dart back? Do I just become roadkill?
There is a die that will cause you to get run over by a car, which one of our players was cheering every time. Roll a splat die. Somebody roll a splat. And he was the one.
Of course, what happened?
Who got splatted.
Karma got him.
That's actually how I met Chris, is that I saw this 18-inch tree on the table with magnetic acorns. And if you know anything about Brains on Games, you know I love magnets. I'm just crazy about the darn things. And so I had to stop and figure it out. He invited me to play, and the rest is history.
Some may say you're attracted to them?
Not repelled, I would say that.
I'm the cheesy joke guy.
Indeed. Dad jokes today.
I got 3 kids, so I can't help.
So I played a pile of games today, but we played one together just right at the very end. So I played a very long tournament, a pre-release event of Star Wars Unlimited, which I only just learned today. The Decipher Star Wars collectible card game was one of the first collectible games that I played. And this reminded me a little bit of that.
You're saying going back 25 years?
35 years, maybe?
So we're dating ourselves.
Yeah, I'm very old. But I did play Decipher cards, and now I've played Star Wars Unlimited. Great game. The new cards are fantastic. But yeah, I did a 3-hour tournament, and then we played Alice's Garden.
Alice's Garden. Very interesting game. For the spatially intelligent.
Which is not me. It is a very spatial game. Tile laying, you're drafting Tetris pieces, and each turn one player is choosing which shape is going to be on the table to draw from. It reminded me of Midori. You ever play Midori?
Midori.
It's a Haba game. But you're building a garden, and you're stacking the pieces, and then you're scoring the rows and columns.
Okay.
Similar to what we did today.
Have not played it, definitely seen it.
Yes. That's a good
Maybe
game,
that'll be tomorrow.
Well, maybe. You can cover up the pieces, and the board keeps changing. So Alice's Garden, yeah, that was an interesting one that we played at the end of the night. I started with a game that I thought was going to be a kid's game. I mentioned it to you. You probably saw it. It's like across the table. It's called Monkey Palace by Asmodee
and it's built with a whole bunch of Lego bridge pieces.
It's a Lego game, but they're trying to the publisher was explaining to me, they're trying to divorce it, like separate it from Lego and keep it with the hobby games.
Okay.
They want to sell these things in game stores, not toy stores.
Right.
And it looked like a kid's game. There's a little monkey, and you're building these bridges, and you're earning banana points. You're getting cards. The cards build up an engine where you're earning more pieces. every turn based on the number of bridges that you've built on previous turns. So
Is it sort of a three-dimensional? You're trying to go upwards?
you're trying to, you always have to start from the bottom though. So as the board starts to fill in and the pieces get higher, you need more pieces in order to build your first step to get onto the tree. And then it, like I said, it looks like a kid's game, but if you're playing 3 or 4 players on this thing, it's a battle for space. It's almost area control, resource management, engine building, and then it's that spatial puzzle of how do you stack up these little sticks and bridges so that you can connect overall to the map. So very cool. That was the first thing I played.
Space management, fighting other players, savage. Sounds perfect to me.
Pretty savage. Yeah. In fact, there's certain moves that you can do where you get to take a monkey and you put it somewhere on the grid to block a path for the other players so that they can't use that step. So, you know, it has everything that modern hobby board games, I would say, are all about, but you're playing it with Legos.
That's kind of cool.
Which to me was pretty cool, let's admit it. Then I learned Star Wars Unlimited for the first time before the 3-hour tournament, and then I played Harmonies. Have you ever played Harmonies?
Yes, I played that a couple months ago.
Yep.
With Ruba and Vinay, if you've met them, and she kicked our butts.
Okay. Yeah. Well, tell the people about Harmonies. What's that thing all about?
Oh, okay. So I'm
remember?
trying to remember. We are placing plants, I believe, and you can place them on either dirt. I can't remember what the plants are, but you're placing...
It's a combination of things from so many different games, because it reminded me of Azul, because you've got these 5 spots in the middle of the table, and each one has 3 of these discs.
Distribution.
Wooden discs, and you have to take the whole pile of discs from that circle when you're drafting, and you might get some that you don't want, which reminded me a bit of Tiny Towns.
Okay.
So you're taking these 3 pieces and then you're putting them on the board somehow. There are goals that you can draft where you're earning points based on
completing the configuration.
Completing certain configurations on your map, and that's going to use up one of the pieces in your pattern so that it can't be used to score points again, but other discs on your board can.
And I remember
used multiple times.
Stones or mountains, if you stack 2 or 3, then they start to multiply.
You want to have stacks of mountains, and I managed to get a stack that was 3 high, and there were 2 side by each, and that earned me like 14 points, which was pretty big in that game. There's bricks, and there's earth and plants, and there's all different ways. It's like a point salad at the end.
Yes.
But you're really drafting these pieces, often pieces that you really would rather not have, and you're trying to arrange those on your board to maximize your points by the end of the game. The boards aren't big enough really to spread things out very much.
No, that's true. I remember that. And I remember one thing about that game, and that I'm noticing about a lot of the other games, is this beautiful jump into beautiful artistry on the boxes, the game pieces themselves, the player mats. I remember Harmonies has that nice earthy feel to it.
It's a beautiful game, and it's well designed too, because what you're doing and how you're earning the points is very clear at all times. And it's never overwhelming. You can only be working on 4 of those goal cards at a time, and then there's little individual things that you always earn points for. It really simplifies. Like, I found Cascadia took a long time to figure out how all the pieces related to one another in order to get those points at the end of the game. This, I think, really pares it down and puts the focus on where you're placing things instead of, constantly doing calculations for
a more intricate system, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really liked how it organized things, and the pieces are great. The artwork is great. The color palette, fantastic. They have good artists on that one.
I believe I was actually scheduled to play that game today, and I might have given up my spot to somebody.
That someone was me.
Did you win at least?
Did I win? No, I didn't. I think I came in last place. I don't know.
You won by playing.
I've been doing terribly at games today. I won 1 game of Star Wars Unlimited out of the 4 that I've played. I did win Monkey Palace, though.
Ah, there you go.
So there you go. A kid's game, so to speak. And I did quite well. The other game that I played, I actually bought it today, too. Vampire the Masquerade Chapters. Have you seen this one?
You were telling me it reminded you of your trip here.
Yes, it did. It's a game that's designed by FlyOS. Is that how? I don't know how you say it.
Not sure.
FlyOS at the end. FlyOS Games. It's a game designing company here in Montreal. The game is set in Montreal, but the mission that I played was in the Ottawa train station. So here's a map of I took the train from Ottawa to get to Montreal. And so here's a map of the building that I just left yesterday.
And you didn't even know going into the game. You
I
just
had
sort
no
of,
idea.
oh,
I only
deja
learned,
vu.
you know, I've been reading and watching videos about this chapters game because I remember World of Darkness. I played the original Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf and Mummy and all of those kinds. I had those books on my shelf when they came out in the 90s, so I'm dating myself again. And so I kept hearing about this game. Then I find out it's in Montreal. It says Montreal right on the top of the box. Now, the box, by the way, is like a 30-pound monstrosity.
Oh, wow.
It will not fit in a Cal-X cube, apparently, which is a big mistake. Why did I order this thing? It's not going to fit on my shelf anywhere. It weighs 30 pounds. It's huge. It's like this big. It's got miniatures and standees and this many maps and a whole bunch of books with all of the stories that
I
you're
might
doing.
have seen this set up at the start of the day.
Yeah. Now what they're doing now, there's a new edition that's coming out. So I got the first edition. It's on a huge discount on sale, which is why I picked it up.
Nice.
The newer edition is smaller and will fit in a Cal-X, and they've digitized a lot of the books. So whether you have the first edition or the new one that's coming, there's a website, there's a web app. You're just going to be able to go in there and all the text that you
Much
need.
easier playthrough.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of like, it combined Gloomhaven, where you've got a campaign that you're going through and characters that are developing.
Right.
It's not combat focused. It's much more interaction focused. In fact, there was not in the game that I played. We didn't have I had a gun that I could have used, but there was a guard watching me, so
Right.
it was all sneaking around and talking to people and investigating.
Okay.
And so they've taken Gloomhaven and almost combined it with like a choose your own adventure, where you're rolling social interactions.
Is there a cooperative component to it?
Yeah, you can. Now, I played just a solo mission with the person who was teaching me, sort of showing me the ropes. But yeah, you have a group of people that play it again and
Nice.
again. It's not a legacy game where you're destroying cards,
Right.
but the legacy part is that it's a branching campaign. So your character develops and things that you find, inventory that you have, or clues that you find, or people that you do away with in one mission will affect the next one, but you can reset everything.
Right.
Start it all over again if you want to find out what would have happened if we lost that mission.
I do love savagery in games and attacking, but I also really love when there's a cooperative component built into a game or an interactive, something I do affects somebody else in potentially a positive way. I think that's a theme you're seeing a lot in games nowadays.
And it's about vampires, and that World of Darkness setting was just a cool setting.
Absolutely.
You know, right from the start, I thought that. I was reading the novels back then, too.
Sounds like the game pieces are high quality, the whole feel of the game.
The miniatures look great. I took some pictures of the board, so we'll put those on the video if I can manage to get everything edited. If I get it up by tomorrow morning, maybe. But beautiful, beautiful game. It's great looking. Now, all the NPCs are standees, but for NPCs that return through the campaign, they have miniatures that you can get as an expansion.
Nice.
All the players are miniatures. So again, it's sort of like Gloomhaven even in that way. You've got the standees with different colors, and then you've got the miniatures for the players. It is a cool thing.
And were you saying that it's not that long of a play for what it is, or are you looking at 2.5 hours kind of a...
Well, what I've heard, now I only played the one mission, and it was about a 40-minute, and I was learning it for the first time.
Right.
So some of the chapters are half an hour. It might take an hour to play. If there's 4 people who are playing together, it might be a little bit longer.
The more important thing that I always ask people to evaluate, so when I play one of my games and we have a play test, I ask them, how long did that feel? And then I'll compare it to the actual time. And if they say, you know what, it felt like no time at all, but it took an hour and a half, that's what you want to hear. So maybe this applies to the vampire game that you were playing. It went by fast, but it was enjoyable, so you don't feel the time.
Yeah, it did. It did go by fast. And there was, you always had kind of an idea of what the options are and what you were going to be able to do and what your goal was at the end. There's like short-term goals for the chapter.
Right.
But when we scrolled through the website and looked through the list of books, there could be 100 chapters to this thing. It's huge. It's huge.
Wow.
There's preludes for characters. And now there is a lot of reading. So that's one thing where when I played Gloomhaven, we had voice... They gave me access to like this app that had voice actors and music and sound effects in the background. So you're not even reading the book. But
Imagine
this
putting all that together. That's a production. Right there.
yeah. It's like a radio play.
Life's work right there.
Exactly. But look, it's all about making this hobby cool so that grown-ups can play with their toys, I guess.
Exactly.
Seems to be something that we all like to do.
Yep.
So that was day one for me. Any other games that you played or that you saw that you wanted to talk about?
That amazing shuffleboard circular game. What is that called?
Oh my gosh, you didn't know the name of
Kraken-
Crokinole.
Crokinole, thank you.
Crokinole, the
This-
greatest
this-
dexterity game of all time.
This game I could play with my buddies all night long.
Was this your first time playing
That was
Crokinole?
my first time.
But you sunk one of those discs. I saw you got the
Yes.
20-point shot.
We went back and forth, me and Alex. Met a very cool guy from Kazakhstan today named Alex, and sort of paired up with him and my cousin, and we played a few games together. Anyway, Alex and I had this battle in Krakenhole?
Crokinole.
Crokinole. He kept calling it guacamole for some reason.
It's a Canadian game. What's he going to know?
Right. We had a battle back and forth. We were at 85 to 80, and then it was 90 to 85, and just going 5 points at a time. And then I finally just eked past that 100-point marker on the last round.
Oh, such a great game. Like it's the very best dexterity game.
Oh, yeah, it's so good.
And once you played it a bunch of times and you learn how to set up guards and you can position your
Right.
pieces a little bit more.
Bring
so
them
it's
on
less
your own
random.
side so they're harder to get to.
Oh,
There's
so good.
It's like shuffleboard, a round shuffleboard with like 8 little bumper pegs in the middle that really bump nicely. And you have these little wooden disc like things that you have to flick, right? You're not allowed to push.
No,
You have to either flick it or thumb flick it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely an exercise in dexterity.
It's
Super fun.
It's crazy to me, Chris, that we've spent the entire day at a game convention playing the most modern, cutting-edge, fanciest games, and the one that you're most enthusiastic about, and that, let's be honest, I'm also very enthusiastic about, is a 200-year-old Crokinole.
Oh, really?
It's 18-something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's an old game. But it's a classic.
It looks like it's typically beautifully built, right? Nicely handcrafted.
I'll see if I can find a picture of my board and how it's mounted on the wall.
Nice.
That's the thing about Crokinole. It's hard to travel with a Crokinole board. It doesn't
pretty
fold.
hefty.
It's hefty. It's huge.
Just
you can't put it away anywhere.
Carry it on your head?
No, I had to find
Giant
a mounting
sombrero?
system so that it could hang on the wall. So I've got this giant round thing on the wall of my game room.
Next time I'm in Ottawa.
You'll
Give
come
me the
and see
invite.
it. 100%.
Nice.
100%. All right, well, that was our day. Tomorrow, we've got more games to play. Maybe Chris will be back. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's totally unpredictable at Ludicon. We're looking for it. Hopefully, you'll be back again. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below the video. You can also email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go. Previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the X handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed. So we're all over the place. If you enjoyed this video, you want to be notified of future ones, head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. But does this guy have a website or an email or contact information or an online presence of any kind?
I'll be getting there soon.
Someday. I'll put it in the show notes when it happens.
Eventually, I'd like to call my company Late to the Party Board Games.
There you go.
Well, I'm 45. I'm a little late getting into it, but not that late. So look out for that name in the future.
Chris, thanks for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure, my friend.
All right. Bye.